Everybody ready? Yep. Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Foxborough School Committee meeting, March 21st, 7 o'clock. The agenda for this evening's meeting is as follows. 7 o'clock visitors, 7:05 approval of minutes, 7:15 Boston Globe Scholastic Art Awards, Mr. Jerry Roy, 7:30 implementation of a comprehensive wellness program update, Dr. Christopher Martis, Ms. Debbie Spinelli, Mr. Dave Gibbs, and Ms. Paula Quattramoni. 8:15 approval of FY12 school district calendar, Dr. Martis. 8:40 FY12 budget update, Dr. Martis, Mr. Jackson. 8:55 FY12 CIP, Dr. Martis, Mr. Jackson. 9:10 other matters. And then we will be entering into executive session to discuss strategies with respect to collective bargaining and contract negotiations with non-union personnel, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the school committee. We will not be returning to open session. So I'd like to start off with visitors. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to approval of minutes. Okay, we're going to start with the February 7th. Minutes, the regular meeting. Anyone have any changes or comments? No?
Would you like a motion?
Yes, please.
I so move to approve the minutes as is.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. Okay, the next minutes will be the February 8th meeting, joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, I just have a question. It says it gave a PowerPoint. I understood it wasn't done? Or was it? I wasn't there.
Yeah, it was.
It was done? Okay. All right.
Some technical issues, but it was.
Oh, okay.
It was the first draft, not the final draft. But it was a PowerPoint. It was a PowerPoint.
All right, that's why it says gave a PowerPoint. Okay. I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? 4-0.
Well,
I'm sorry. 4-0-1. Thank you, Beth. 4-0-1.
I wasn't there.
That's right. Okay, and February 28th, regular meeting minutes.
Make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. And we only have some policy subcommittee meetings. Kate and Bev, would you like to make any comments about these?
We'd like to give you an update under other matters, or would you like that now?
No, that's fine. So we'll just go through there's 3 of them. We'll start with March 1st. The policy subcommittee minutes.
Vote to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. And March 4th.
Vote to
Policies.
approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Of course, Beth and I are in favor.
I figured you were, but...
Good catch there, Katie.
March 8th, policy subcommittee meeting.
Vote to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you. I think that's it. Okay. So I'm going to move on to the Boston Globe Scholastic Art Awards, and Mr. Jerry Roy is not in the house. So we have Kelly Arkasha, who's going to be introducing the art students. So please come forward. Thank you.
And while the students, I'll actually interject a little bit. I know that we postponed last week's meeting, and Jerry Roy, who has recently visited the committee, talked about the art program. He's unable to attend tonight, so Kelly, thank you very much for filling in. And I know that some of our students, last week I think we had more students that were available, but nonetheless, we wanted to make sure that all of you were recognized, because this is a very, very significant series of awards, and a great opportunity for us to talk about what great work is coming out of the art department. So, Kelly, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Martis, and thank you, school committee members, for inviting us here tonight. It is my honor to stand before you on behalf of the Foxborough High School Art Department to recognize the outstanding achievements of 16 of our art students who recently won Scholastic Art Awards, joining their names to a distinguished list of artists that include Andy Warhol, Richard Arvidon, Robert Indiana, and Robert Redford. In its 61st year of running in Massachusetts, the Boston Globe Scholastic Art Awards is one of the longest-running and most prestigious recognition programs for student achievement in the visual arts. Competing with over 3,500 other Massachusetts students, our students impressed a panel of professional artist judges and came away with 17 awards in categories that ranged from drawing and painting to graphic design and film. Our 7 Silver Key winners and 3 prestigious Gold Key winners were recognized 3 weeks ago at an award ceremony held in the John Hancock Hall in Boston. Their work is currently on exhibition through April 7th at the State Transportation Building in Boston. Without further ado, I'd like to present to you our 2011 Scholastic Art Award winners who are here with us tonight. Over here we have Juliette Weiss, who is a senior. This is Juliette's second year winning a Scholastic Art Award. Last year she won a Gold Key for her yearbook cover. This year she adds to her collection a Silver Key for her painting and an honorable mention for her photography.
We know Juliette. And we like her too.
We like her too. Behind me is our only freshman, Catherine Spillane, who is a freshman and won a Gold Key her freshman year for her graphic design.
Very impressive.
Next to Catherine, we have Liz Delaney. Liz Delaney also won a Gold Key for her graphic design. Liz had done her graphic design as a sophomore. She's now a junior.
I
Next to her.
chimed in and said, this has to be your mother's side. Of the
Careful who's in the audience back there.
Liz, nice job.
Next to Liz, we have Jill Harrison. Jill is a senior, and she won an honorable mention for her graphic design.
That's great.
Next to Jill, we have Sarah Andres. Sarah is also a senior, and she won an honorable mention for her sculpture.
Great.
Next to Sarah, we have Dylan Heinricher, and Dylan won an honorable mention. I'd like to promote this. His honorable mention is for his 2011 yearbook cover.
Nice.
Excellent.
Nice, Dylan.
And next to Dylan, we have Cassidy Mazias. Cassidy is a sophomore, and she is our third Gold Key winner, and she won a Gold Key for her still life drawing.
Excellent. Nice job.
Give a round of
Yeah.
applause. For you guys to come through, we can shake your hands, congratulate you.
Congratulations. Awesome.
Great job.
Congratulations. Congratulations, that's awesome.
You'll have the most, Catherine. Congratulations. And this place always. Congratulations. Good job.
Absolutely. And before I announce the other ones, I just want to point out that Jerry Roy did put all the artwork online, so if you go onto the school website and you link on the high school website, there's a gallery of all the winners so you can see their artwork. Students who weren't here tonight, Nick Marves, who's a senior who won a Silver Key for his graphic design. Joel Mulherin, who is a senior who won a Silver Key for his documentary film. I believe this is the first film entry that we've done in Foxborough, and that won a Silver Key. Victoria Solomon, this would be her second year winning an honorable mention for her graphic design. Jess Septelka, who won a Silver Key for her graphic design. Maddie Fletcher, who's a sophomore and won a Silver Key for a still life drawing. Sam Mata, who is a junior, won a Silver Key for her graphic design. Catherine Hughes, who is a junior, won an honorable mention for her graphic design. Jake Littlefield, who is a senior, won a silver key for his sculpture, and Evan Serpis, who's a senior and won an honorable mention for his graphic design.
Great. Excellent.
Thank you. Very impressive.
Thank you.
That we do.
And I know you'd like to stay right to the end, and you don't have homework. I'm going to give you a pass right now before we get to our next agenda item.
Yes. Thank you for coming. Thank you to the parents as well. Thank you. Congratulations to all of you.
Dan's the one wearing the brown sweatshirt.
Yes.
Personal.
Is what?
All right, we're going to move on to the implementation of a comprehensive wellness program update.
Sure, I'll start that. I'll invite Dave Gibbs and Paula Quattromoni to come up. And while they're getting themselves situated, let me just remind the committee and the public about our interest as a school district in looking at our wellness program, and we've been doing that for 3+ years now, and I know the committee's been interested, and this was a goal that the committee has had on their goal sheet for quite a number of years. And 3 years ago, when Kevin Murphy retired as the K-12 Health, Physical Education, and Wellness department head, Dave Gibbs, who I'd worked with in Medfield, asked if there was an interest in having him come on board as a consultant, and knowing the high quality of that program and the quality of Dave's work, this I think will be a really good idea. So thinking that might last just a year or two, it's certainly gone on longer than that, but he's been able to gather resources from others as he's been going about evaluating the program and working with staff and working with a number of outside agencies, and we've been very fortunate that Paula Quattromoni from Boston University has been able to join us and to help. So I'll throw it over to Dave, and I know that Dave has just a couple minutes, and then Paula wants to update the group on the work that they're doing. So,
Thanks. Thank you. Evening. In your packets for preparation for this evening, I know you have one document which is very comprehensive, entitled the Pilot Year Report on Foxborough Nutrition Education Initiative, our pilot year. What we just distributed right now is a PowerPoint which Dr. Quattromoni will speak off of this evening, which sort of synthesizes a lot of the information that's in that pilot year report, and then we'll entertain questions and talk off of that the PowerPoint handout that I just gave you. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Paula Quattromoni. And I think, as Dr. Mata said, we're very fortunate to have her expertise to guide us through the development of our nutrition education curriculum and add a research component through Boston University. She's a full professor at Boston University in rehabilitative sciences in their School of Public Health. She has her doctorate in epidemiology. I'm not sure I could explain it real accurately to you right now. I just know it's very important, it's very comprehensive. It took her a long time to get her tenure at Boston University. We're very fortunate to have her to guide us evaluating our present curriculum and pointing us in a direction I think is extremely creative, innovative in terms of the area of nutrition education. As all of us are aware, there's an awful lot of emphasis in the national media on the area of nutrition education and the well-being of our students. And unfortunately, there are not a lot of school systems that have, as the colloquial term goes, are able to walk the talk. And I'm very proud of the fact that in Foxborough, we've started an initiative that is not only innovative and creative, but I think as Paul will point out in her presentation, is already reaping benefits of improving the cognitive knowledge base of our students in only 1 year. We're in the second year of our program this year. We'll be evaluating this year and doing developing a database from our previous year, and hopefully moving in a direction that when our kids finish here in their program in nutrition education, they'll be not only knowledgeable but also effective consumers in terms of what is brought into the home. I'd like to thank a few people before I turn it over to Paula. I'd like to thank the administration, Dr. Martis and Superintendent Spinelli, in terms of this year being brought into Foxborough. We've certainly stepped outside the box to initiate this program. The school administrators at the 3 elementary schools and at the middle school have been extremely cooperative and helpful in opening their minds to what we're trying to do and work through our pilot year and expand into our second year. I'd like to really thank our staff. As Dr. Mata said, when I came on board, I think change for anybody is difficult. Change in education, I think, is often more difficult than it is in any other profession. And taking this step forward, especially at the elementary level, where we've emphasized nutrition education, at times at the expense of some other issues that are important to children but not nearly as important as nutrition education. I'd like to recognize their efforts, because without our staff, I don't think we could get to the point we're at right now. And it has necessitated rather some really change on their part, and I really want to recognize them for their efforts, personally. Another key element, before I get to Dr. Quattromoni, has been the why. Our first year that we initiated the program, we received a $1,500 mini grant through Stop and Shop and the Hockomock Y, part of the Stop and Shop Hockomock Y Healthy Futures grant program. That grant was expanded to $3,000 for this year, and we're going to be applying again for a third year through Stop and Shop and their Healthy Futures grant. But that provided us with the seed money to bring Dr. Quattromoni on board, and as important, the research component through Boston University. So that is, in a nutshell, the people that I think that have really been the key elements to bringing this initiative in. And again, I can't overemphasize the contributions of Dr. Paula Quattromoni. I've sort of just pointed her in a direction, and her efforts, along with the graduate students, doctoral students at Boston University, I think have created a unique opportunity for high schools to become involved in a research program such as what we're doing right here. So,
Thank you.
Dr. Quattromoni.
Thank you. You just gave me a promotion. I'm not a full professor. I'm an associate professor. I was promoted and made tenure about a year and a half ago at the university. And first and foremost, I'm a registered dietitian. So both my undergrad and my master's degrees are in nutrition. My doctoral work is in epidemiology, which is basically public health research. And so what I bring to the table is the nutrition education piece and a research program. The longest standing part of my research portfolio is working on the Framingham Heart Study. And about 6 or 7 years ago, I moved into the child nutrition area, taking what I've learned from Framingham, with just very much adult-based, working with kids predominantly in schools. So I have a research program in school-based nutrition. I've done some intervention work in cafeterias, and I've done some after-school programming on physical activity, nutrition education. But what's really unique about this opportunity is that this initiative came from within the school district, and that's very different than being a researcher and saying, can I come and work in your school and try to make a difference in your cafeteria? So the support of the Foxborough community and the administration has just been overwhelming as a researcher. So it's made the collaboration really get off to a very smooth start. And as Dave mentioned, one of the very cost-effective things, because we have started this on a shoestring of a budget, is to bring the resources of the university in terms of graduate students and statistical consultants who are often looking for directed study credit and can work for me. And so I think that's really enriched what we've been able to do. So the exciting part, actually, what we're going to get towards is that that pilot work helped us to get a grant for the next 2 years from the Aetna Foundation. So we got a $25,000 grant to really kick this up to the next level. So I think that's going to help us to make some linkages beyond what we're trying to do in terms of teach nutrition education and assess the student's knowledge, but to link it to other markers, things that are routinely measured in school, like the height and weight body mass index that the nurses are measuring, the fitness testing that's going on in the middle school, and to try to see how, as the students move through the system and learn more about nutrition and hopefully make some, healthy choices and changes in their personal behaviors, if it can track with other things, MCAS scores, absenteeism. So we're looking to, with more money now in the program, to try to link with some of the other information we can tap into. So that's actually where we're arriving to. As Dave mentioned, we are so grateful for the YMCA's support so far. And as I said, so the initiative really started with the policy change that came from within the district to support Dave's dream of sort of making nutrition the cornerstone of the wellness program in the Foxborough School District. So by increasing the number of wellness lessons that are centered on nutrition from grades 1 through 8. So that typically before we started this, there were maybe 1 to 2 lessons a year on nutrition within the 12 health education lessons. And this policy change mandated that 6 of them up through grade 6 would be devoted to nutrition, and 9 lessons in 7th and 8th grade would be devoted to nutrition. So it really put this as the cornerstone for wellness. And so the first thing we did in our pilot year was to really evaluate the existing curriculum materials, because we wanted to see what was already in the district. And so I spent the first summer really evaluating what was available and trying to discern what was appropriately sequenced, what was missing, what was maybe introduced too early, to really try to reformat it with an eye towards coming up with a curriculum that was going to have a very vertical progression, where as the students are moving through each of the grades, that their knowledge base would increase, with an eye towards moving to more sophisticated knowledge, but also moving towards skill-based application of that knowledge, and to try to make a curriculum that was going to be very personally relevant to their lives. The other thing we did for the first time was to put some not only goals and objectives and sort of educational benchmarks in the wellness curriculum, but to create assessments of student knowledge. So we developed pre and post tests for each grade to reflect the content we were teaching in the curriculum. So expecting that students would not do so well in the pre-test, but hopefully we could measure knowledge gained by the completion of the lessons. And that's what, as Dave was mentioning, the data that has been now shared with Boston University, and we've already coded and analyzed the first year's assessments. And so those are summarized in the report here, and we'll touch on them a little bit. And we did a lot of professional development for the teachers. We basically organized the curriculum into a binder and spent a lot of time orienting the teachers and getting their feedback, especially after they had the chance to teach it in the pilot year. We spent a lot of time last June really debriefing and understanding what worked well, what was missing, what were some of the obstacles, how we might resequence things, and so that was time extremely well spent. So as I mentioned, the curriculum really makes use of what we already had in the school district, and then bringing in additional resources from things like the American Heart Association, the American Dietetic Association, the USDA, My Pyramid resources, things that are newly available. And as I said, we're really after guiding behavioral change and development of skills to help make, grow competent eaters. So some of the buzzwords in behavior change, like we're trying to build self-efficacy, where children really have the confidence that they could go home and pick a nutritious snack, when they get home from school, that they know what a partner snack is, that is supposed to have 2 different food groups to give them more nutrition. We're working on things like readiness to change, helping kids learn how to set goals and, things that are going to be achievable. We're working on health literacy, teaching them how to discern food advertisements and how to read food labels, and how to know when, unhealthy foods are marketed towards them. And really focusing on building the bridge to home through the materials, through the assignments, through, parent-child take-home projects, and how we can, shift the information from the classroom to home. So as I mentioned, the curriculum components are between 6 and 9 lessons a year, depending on the grade. We developed a system for the teachers to give us some feedback after each lesson that they teach, so that they're writing it down in real time, and then we're debriefing at the end of at the end of the semester when they've taught it, but it's just a way of really making sure that this really reflects what works well for them in the classroom, because they're obviously our biggest partners in making this effective. Administering the pre and post test. And one of the other things, in addition to knowledge, we're really trying to get a sense of, are we helping students make healthier choices? And so we're having them complete a My Pyramid worksheet where they record what they've eaten for one day, and we're going to be analyzing that using diet analysis software at Boston University to get a sense for, are they meeting the food guide pyramids? Are they getting enough protein? How does their calcium look? To try to, again, look for changes over time. That piece on the diet quality we're really just doing in grades 6, 7, and 8. It's more advanced for the middle school. But will be a great piece of data, because that's when we look at like the Haynes data and the population level surveys, that's what we want to know. Is the population coming close to the dietary guidelines? Where are they falling short? We see real problems with students of this age, not only with low fruit and vegetable intake, but whole grains, dairy food. So those are some of the things we want to see. Where are we making some progress, and where do we need to step up our efforts in the classroom? So in the first year, we reached over 1,600 students in grades 1 through 8 in Foxborough. We had about 90% of the students who completed the pre-test and about 84% who completed the post-test. And that was hampered a little bit by, in 2 of the grades, we had a bunch of tests that came back where only the front side of the page was completed and not the back. So, we've learned we really need to step up our oversight with the teachers and making sure that we get complete data. So that's the purpose of a pilot year, to figure those things out. But the range of grades, and on this slide it says the range of grades on the pretest, that's the range of the mean grades for each of the grades 1 through 8. So, like for example, the 49% was the average of the pretest for 4th graders. That was the lowest mean for a grade. And the 76% was the mean of the 2nd graders, and so the other grades were somewhere between that range. And you can see that on post-test, the means went up. And again, but remember that these are averages, so we definitely had some students who scored 100%, and so we know that, these are reasonable expectations, and we also had students who scored 0%. Only at pretest, we had nobody score a 0 at post-test, so at least everybody learned something. But you can see that on average, the test scores improved by more than 10 percentage points from pre to post-test, and across all 8 grades, the average increase in scores was 15 percentage points. So across all 8 grades, the average at pretest was a 60%, but at post-test went up to a 75%. So really very pleased to see that positive progression. And when we looked very carefully at the data in terms of grade by grade, which grades were outperforming others, the lowest scores were seen in grades 4, 7, and 6. So again, the fact that the younger grades were performing a little bit better, maybe suggests that their tests were more simplified, but also that they might be more likely to be getting some nutrition education at home, whereas by the time kids get towards middle school, there's less parental influence, which means we need to step up our efforts in the classroom. Just some of the data which are also summarized in this more narrative report in the table. But we did, as I said, we debriefed with the teachers in June, and that was an extremely helpful process to help us revise the curriculum and understand, like I said, what worked well, what the teachers thought was missing, and they also identified additional resources that they wanted to use in the classroom, which was great because it's helping them take ownership for the curriculum because they're putting their handprints on it. So I think that part has been very well received. And we also really did a question-by-question analysis on each of the grade-specific student assessments because we wanted to know where were the students getting the questions wrong. Were they knowledge-based questions or were they skills-applied questions? And that allowed us to go back to the curriculum to point out to the teachers things that we wanted them to emphasize to make sure that we were really getting across to the students, or we brought in some additional lessons to try to teach points a little bit better. So we're really trying to guide the students, obviously, towards better performance on the assessments. And so that's really what guided the revisions for the current year. And it really helped us to see, again, was it the skills-based work that they needed more in the classroom, the translation of information, or just strict memorization of knowledge. So we spent the fall revising the curriculum, and it's now being taught in both elementary and the middle school. And last summer I did a lot of grant writing. As I said, we were able to get some money from the Aetna Foundation, but I actually pitched this grant to 3 different foundations, and one of them funded us, so that was good. But, it's great that we've been able to get to a higher level of funding, but I think we could even go further with it. I mean, I think that this model is something that, has a lot of potential to be disseminated, which is obviously one of our goals, to share it with other school communities and to put it out there as a model where, an initiative that comes from within a school district with this type of support behind it and, some focused energy can really make an impact. So that's what we're hoping to look at. The last 2 slides show the aims for the current year for the Aetna Foundation grant, which is, to try to collect these data over the next 2 years and then lump it back with our pilot year data, so we'll have 3 years of data, specifically on the nutrition knowledge and the diet quality, but now with this infusion of more funds to link with some of those things I mentioned at the beginning: body mass index, physical fitness, the academic scores, absenteeism, and then to really, try to market it. I mean, one of the things that we also do at the university is we get this work out there. Our students are presenting at local conferences. I have a couple of students presenting at the Mass Dietetic Association meeting next week, but to try to get it out through your channels, through administrators and through, wellness boards and, meetings of wellness teachers, health promotion, school nurses. I think there's going to be a lot of ways we can market this and get some information shared. So that's what we're up to.
This is very impressive. We're very fortunate. I mean, I think that this committee has been talking for a long time about nutrition and wellness, and this really is very concrete, specific actions that have, that you've initiated. As you were going through this, one of the things that I was thinking about was you had mentioned where some of those lower scores were in those upper grades, and I was wondering whether there's been any consideration to engage the parents in this knowledge-based learning, and this, because as you stated, this is obviously what goes on at home is certainly has a huge impact on our students. And I guess I was just wondering whether there were any plans to try to, I'm thinking about, we have math night and we have, reading night at the lower levels, and at the middle school we have other kinds of educational forums for parents. So I was wondering whether there was any consideration to extend that to include this topic.
Well, as you know, I think you were there last spring with the 3 elementary schools. We had an evening at the Ahern, and the 3 PTOs at the elementary schools sponsored an evening with Dr. Quattromoni. I think it was very well received by the parents that were there. Not nearly as many parents as I would have hoped would have been there. So I agree with you 100%, Katie. One of my tasks and goals, personally and professionally, is how do we effectively reach out to parents, and more importantly, how do we approach parents to get parents to come to evenings or bring them into the fold, one might say, in terms of educating them also. One of the positive things that staff has done this year is to increase the homework assignments, the handouts that are going home with the children. I observed a health lesson by Sue Burrows on today's Tuesday, on Monday, on Friday, where the kids were taking a homework assignment home with their IGO students. And their goal is to bring the assignment back and engaging parents. I'm going to try to do some things through the parent newsletters, and at some point I had a meeting with Caitlin Hurley from the Hockomock Y on Friday. We're actually doing a program through the Hockomock Y called Nutrition Detectives at our 3 elementary schools. Beginning this Friday, there are 2 lessons, 2 45-minute lessons, where there are 5 concepts that are really supportive of what we've already been teaching. And Caitlin and I are talking about programs, how we can also work together to engage parents, to really reach out to the parents. It was all of us know in education, with today's society, with 2-parent incomes and people's schedules being so busy. I wasn't discouraged at all from the standpoint that I think people are interested in the subject. It's a matter of when we do it, how we do it. I'm really looking for suggestions that we can reach out more effectively.
Well, Dave, you don't have eyes in the back of your head, but there's some nodding of the parents behind the NSC team. So evidently you're stepping up the nutrition education homework has been noticed, so that's good. But the parent program they did was really well done. And of course, we rarely have the parent program where we say we got the number we wanted. You know, we always like more. But that was really well done, and you had activities in the cafeteria for students who could also go that night that were very reality-based, like what they could do at home with their parents. It was about label reading. It was really fun games that are part of the education. So, you know, if we could repeat that and get a better turnout, I thought the night that you did do,
Yeah, and they put the PowerPoint
wonderful.
slides up on the school website so parents could access them, and we did a follow-up with one of the principals. We did an interview, and I think the media coverage is huge to get, you know, parents to rally around what we're doing, but I think that some of those types of programs would be a good use of, like the YMCA money to support things like that, but also, I mean, I think sort of the sky's the limit in terms of what the school district wants. If you wanted to have a nutrition newsletter on your website that changes once a month, I mean, I have graduate students who are always looking for projects, and all it takes is my supervision, and so we could enhance and augment in a number of areas like that, and I think, you know, whether it's on the website or it goes home in backpacks, however you want to do it, we could certainly bring that to the table as well.
That's a great idea, because it just continues to make it in the forefront, an issue. You know, the evening once a year is great, but again, just to kind of really...
consistently, every month, something comes
Right.
home, or, yeah.
You know, so much of our efforts in the first 2 years, the pilot year, and then this year, again, preparing for this year, was to really evaluate the curriculum. And the binder that Paul and our graduate students put together, it's a 1-inch binder, essentially is lesson by lesson, grade by grade, lesson by lesson, with specific instructions how to teach the lesson. And then Paul had talked about loosening up a little bit this year and getting feedback now from staff and augmenting those lessons with different resources. But, you know, as one staff member pointed out to me when they saw the binder, he said, "Dave, this is just like nutrition for dummies." So the binder that she developed is outstanding. All the administrators have them. And so I think now the next step to answer your question is for me to work with Dr. Qual. I've been a little bit reluctant to put more weight on her shoulders because we're not paying a whole lot of money now, but now we have $25,000. We'll look to get a little part of some of the things she just talked about today. So it's...
Well, you just made her a full professor, so...
I know.
I'll take that.
That was...
You know
Is that
what?
premature? It still means you don't need it as a recommendation.
You can kiss that goodbye.
You want to read that?
Yes, cut by the press also.
Gotta have fun.
I think Frank's
You know what's amazing? I get my grandchildren off to mornings, and I'm pleased with what they're picking for snacks and water bottles, and they're really putting a lot of thought into it. And you know, certainly I think the parents are even more aware because they're not buying the things, you know, the Cheetos and the Doritos and these type of things. They're granola bars, and they're things that are better for these kids. What I'd kind of love, I have a real bug when it comes to these studies that people do. When you talk about looking for markers on student wellness, BMI, physical fitness, academic absenteeism, what I'd love to see is a cohort type of thing. In other words, what was their BMIs this year,
Right.
and how much it improved for next year? Because that's the only way we're going to know, are we having an impact on these kids over a period of time?
Right, because we can link it by their student identifier numbers, and then we can link it with their physical fitness,
Yeah,
and we
just
can
so we can see that they're...
Exactly.
And I think we need to be able to tell the parents that we're seeing some sort of an improvement. But, and I'd love to see a height, some sort of a height chart that goes along with this, because we all know that there's certain time when they have a growth spurt and things change, to become even more aware of themselves and what they want to look like and how they want to present themselves. So I think, there's a couple other things I'd love to see put in there so that it gives us a real picture of how are they changing.
Yes, that's
Especially when
exactly
they
what
get
we
to middle
plan to
school.
track, because also the height for age and the BMI for age, they're all, percentile rankings, and so based on, a standard national population of children of that age, and so you'll get a percentile score, so we can look at it many different ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Martha, that's a great idea. We've been tracking BMIs and giving that information to parents at least I'm going to say closer to 5 years.
Yeah.
Well,
Sharon Kelly could probably tell us.
They also get them from their pediatricians are on target with this too. I mean, this is just reinforcing, sometimes if they're only going once a month or once a year to their pediatricians, by us doing it the way we're doing it, we're reinforcing what they're hearing in their doctor's office. I work in the medical profession. So we're reinforcing what they're being told. You walk away, and the farther you get away from your visit, everybody,
Yes.
you get less and less, involved in it. So I think by us jumping and being more supportive in another way, it reinforces what they're being told in one way.
No, that's an interesting point, though. We have been collecting BMIs for a
think
number
it's
of years,
5
as
years. I think
required
it's
by
about
the
5
state.
years, yeah.
But when you collect them and you send them home, and that's where it's sort of ended. So what's really powerful about what we're doing now is that we're putting the education and the knowledge in the children's heads, rather than just you send home a letter saying how many times you've been absent this year. Here's your BMI. And most of us aren't experts in this field as parents. So you might get the information, but you don't necessarily know what to do. And so putting the education in the children's head with the support of the parents, that's how I think you really get your impact. And the other thing I love about this is that we would say we have good school nursing services, we have good wellness like PE and health classes, and we have a good food service, and we have good partnerships with our community service agencies. But this is an example that is very unique that puts all of those 4 things together and concretely connects them. And we haven't had that before. They've sort of existed, and we say, yes, that's good, that's good, that's good, but we've never really brought them together for the well-being of students.
Yeah.
So, we always say we do a good job teaching health, we do a good job teaching, is that, well, how do we know that? And this shows how we know it. And so I think we're lucky, and thank you for all your work, and keep going.
Well, I think by putting it in the hands of children and parents, and they know that it is working. It's like anything else. People stop doing what they're doing because they don't see any results.
Yes.
So by showing them that there's some results, it reinforces and gets them more engaged. They want to keep doing what they're doing instead of saying, well, it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. If you play by the rules, it always matters. So I think if we can reinforce that with the kids, it's to their advantage.
And the potential link to achievement
Yes.
is something that I think is really interesting in this. I mean, I think we intuitively know that if you're healthy and you've had,
You're alert
in
in classroom.
Right.
You're gonna-
We talk about it around this time with
Yeah.
MCAS. Get a good night's sleep, but also get a good breakfast. And come to school ready, ready to perform. So that'll be really interesting, in the next few years to see if they're, as we track this along, if we can make that kind of link.
Well, if your sugars are
My
high,
sense
you
is
get
that's where you
tired,
get the administrators in around
That
the
would be
state.
good. We need a hook.
Yeah, but I do
performance
think
bonuses,
other people are interested, because as you said earlier on, there isn't a whole lot of research base in this in
Right.
terms of what a school is supposed to do
Yeah.
about health and wellness.
Right.
And this will really, we love that you call it the Foxborough model. We like being a research site.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you're right, a lot of schools, they just don't have the expertise, they don't know where to go to, even to find something that's comprehensive and, what exactly to bring into the classroom because, even the health and wellness teachers just don't have the background necessary to put together this kind of a curriculum. So it really, if it makes it easy for them to teach because it's packaged, then it's
Right.
going to be more successful.
And another key component to what we're doing with wellness is that last year we did a complete revision of our fitness testing at both the middle school and the high school. We did a complete revision of what we previously did, so now we're using a model, a program modeled after the state of Connecticut. The important thing is that our middle school and our high school are using the same test, and with the assistance of the IT people and Erica Scannell, we're now able to transport, we're doing data entry of everyone's test scores, their best test scores at the conclusion of each year. They're being tested twice at the middle school and twice at the high school, and their best scores are being transported from one grade to another. So we now effectively, we're pretty close to being able to do a fitness profile. So, Beverly Lord, scores can come from the 7th grade when she's a junior in high school, can see the progress and the similar components all the way through. And we're hoping that, addressing one of your comments, Martha, is this, how do we change physically as we improve our eating habits? So we're bringing that component in also. And that's a little bit unique to what we're doing system-wide in Foxborough also. I don't know of any other school that's doing electronic transporting of fitness scores.
I think we're very fortunate here in Foxborough because we have an administration, we have a faculty that embraces initiatives and change, and you don't see that in every school system because they're geared towards other things. But I think we're very creative, very innovative here, and very open to change, and I think it bodes well for us because you're here.
The other piece, I think, that just made me think of it, Dave, when you mentioned that would be interesting is linking the use of our new wellness facility. I mean, maybe the Y could help us with that since they're doing a lot of the work in the afternoon. Who's in? How are they? What are they doing? How is that working out?
Yeah, we wanted to try to do that in the scope of this grant too, and also link utilization by families at the YMCA. And so what I didn't tell you is that the grant to Aetna was really for $50,000, and they gave us $25,000. So that was like the one piece I had to, because just the systems to put that into place.
Sure.
But I think we're thinking along the same lines, but I think that with the level of commitment we have here, and there's more and more opportunities because people are so interested as child health, wellness, nutrition leads to preventing childhood obesity, which is the big funding area right now, that I think there are more opportunities we could go after to add that piece. But I agree with you that, because then you can also see how is it affecting families at large. So not just the student using the YMCA, but the parents, and what programs are they participating in? Are they using the pool, the fitness classes, or whatnot would be really interesting.
And as you know, we're very blessed to have the Y here in this community. Very blessed. I mean,
It's accessible.
It's incredible the work that they do, and the partnerships we're developing with them. And I had a long meeting, as I said, with Caitlin earlier on Friday about what are we doing for kids that we identify at risk categories with BMI. And that's one of the things that you brought up. We do the assessment, we send the information in, but then nothing happens. Nothing happens. So we're looking at a pilot program. I don't want to say too much this evening because we just met on Friday about trying to identify some of these kids, working with the Y, and as Paula just said, bring the children and the parents together to really assess their eating habits, purchasing habits, exercise habits of some of our kids that have been identified at risk. And I'm really excited about that opportunity because no one's doing anything for those children. We identify it, and then we pass it on to the parents, and as someone pointed out earlier, between time constraints and experience, sometimes they're overwhelmed by what to do with it unless they have a really outstanding, which we have in some of them in Foxborough, a pediatrician. So it's another area we're looking at to try to bring all this together.
Well, things have really changed. I look back when we were growing up, there was 6 kids in my family. We were outside from sunup to sundown. And now the kids have so many things to do inside the house that they're not getting out of the house. I mean, whatever the sport was, that's what we played. And it was amazing. And you swam, you did everything. You ride your bikes. And unfortunately, a sign of the times is, some of us hesitate to let the kids out of the house sometimes, too, because you can't be right there physically with them. But things have changed, and we need to kind of change it back the other way.
We just finished analysis on a little pilot project of an after-school bicycling curriculum. That's the Cycle Kids program, and we showed it was an 8-week program, and we reduced in half the proportion of kids who spent more than 2 hours a day with screen time. Cut in half after 8 weeks by teaching them how to ride bikes. And a lot of these kids don't even have bikes at home, but it empowered them to do other things. This is really inner-city Boston, so there's a lot of work that could be done to reverse those trends, because we are up against it. You're right, the technology and we don't live in neighborhoods as much to go out and play anymore, so it's very different. That's why we have to keep pushing against it.
I would like to ask, if I may, so the funding, we've gotten through the pilot year, and it's just phenomenal, this whole program. So the funding from Aetna, that will be for this year and next year?
Yes, it's spread over 2 years.
2 years, so we're all set on funding now. I wanted to ask you,
I'm still trying to get more, so if you know of any places we should pursue, we're very interested in, I think we're underfunded, but we're going to make the most of this money that we have, so we're still looking for more.
It's $25,000 over the
2 years, yeah.
Yeah, so it's tight when you look at it. And so I kind of cringe to ask you, but how could we introduce nutrition into the 9th and 10th grade wellness? I know it's beyond the scope, but I think that is something that we perhaps could should discuss at some point, or how could we help
I think it's
secure
critical. I mean,
funding
even
and-
in Medfield, my own town, I went in and did one lecture for all the 10th graders. I did it like 10 times during the course of the day for every single, it was one nutrition lesson. That's all they got. It's a crime. So, I mean, I think that it's if you want it, we can build it, I suppose. I mean, I think it's really needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, you know, we're going to be more acclimated towards it because we're starting in
Yes.
such, you know, the lower grades, so that this is going to be ingrained in them by the time they get to high school. The hard part, hopefully, yeah. But trying to
sustain
jump in
it,
there now,
yeah.
I mean, it's worth it to try and.
Is there a way to integrate it through the high school wellness center?
Excuse me?
Is there a way to integrate it through the?
Or the wellness curriculum? I mean, the health?
We have,
They're teaching
that's really
something
a
on
phys ed-
nutrition.
It's really a phys ed course. I mean, we've said it before, so associate, we don't have health at the high
Right.
school. That certainly has been on the list that Chris has mentioned.
Yeah.
So that is something that we could discuss, because that remains the number one priority. It's not glitzy, but, you know, we talk about academic achievement, and yet it's the number one personnel position that's been identified now for several years in a row.
I
So-
thought, wasn't it this committee that told us it was lost in 2003 or 4 or something?
I think if you asked every high school student how many of them ate breakfast before they came to school, you'd be shocked.
Well, you
But
know-
9% doesn't.
I mean, another time that's very critical is the seniors going off to college. I also just did a program out at Dana Hall School for all of their seniors. How do you manage, you know, the stress of college and feeding yourself in the dining halls? So even if you did like 1 or 2 lessons a year in each of those grades through high school, you could be really creative and, you know, address a variety of different topics.
I was just thinking
Even if
that.
it's through science class or something.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Nancy Beeling at the high school, in her food services, she does a spectacular job in terms of what Paula was just talking about. Unfortunately, I'm not sure what the enrollment is there, but it
It's
doesn't...
an elective.
It's an
Family
elective.
consumer science, it's
She,
an elective.
she does a spectacular job in exactly that thing, with working with kids on life after high school, preparing nutritious foods, and she's said it in some of our professional development days, and you know, she does a great job with that.
But what I was referring to before, and maybe I wasn't clear, was more about the wellness center at the high school incorporating classes or incorporating lecture, I guess we wouldn't want to call it lectures, but, you know.
Like workshops.
Yeah, educational, you know, workshops for students after school to address some of those issues. That's what I meant, not necessarily in the curriculum, but working with the Y.
There's a grant
Again,
topic.
you know, like seniors, you know, how to avoid the freshman 15, because it happens if you're not watching what you're
Yeah.
doing, speaking from experience. So, you know, it's like, it's just all those kinds of things, or like the beginning, identifying freshmen and sophomores, and when they're coming from the middle school after going through the program, having some, you know, refresher courses, or, you know, or just trying to tie into them what they've learned through the 8th grade to continue it. I don't know whether the Y would be interested.
They are. You know,
Okay.
we know that this is the first year of the Wellness Center, and the Y is committed to personnel. Dan DeMars is over here. The Y has Brandon that comes in every afternoon. So there's some leadership activities the Y is pursuing, I think, for the future, getting after this first year, getting into those type of things, and that may be a topic the Y can pursue in an after-school program. Through physical education component of wellness, we're making almost daily use of the Wellness Center for one segment or another of our population. You know, the high school people are using it as almost as a rehab area for kids that show deficiencies in fitness testing, not as a punishment, but it's taking an opportunity for those kids that have difficulty with one particular component of fitness testing into the Wellness Center over a period of weeks. They call them fitness focus days, where on Fridays, almost every Friday, is all designed to specific fitness training and fitness education. And specifically, they're gearing, in addition to that fitness focus days for kids that show deficiency. Janelle Erskine is taking those kids in CGym and in the, the Wellness Center to work on some of their deficiencies. And within that lesson, there are discussions about food preparation, caloric intake, calories in, calories out, that type of thing. you would not recognize the high school curriculum if you took an in-depth look at it right now, I'm proud to say. I'm proud to say. When I have difficult days, I go to the high school. They come to me for ideas now, and I'm just so appreciative of their efforts. It's like night and day. You wouldn't recognize the curriculum at the high school and the efforts of those three people.
And they
there.
are using
So, some good things are happening,
Y
people,
Center
in Foxborough. Some real good things are happening.
I think just to sort of wrap it up, I think we have to remember, though, and I know that now is not the time, we all agree now is not the time, but a comprehensive health curriculum at the high school, that while, yes, the kids who are in the family and consumer science class get it wonderfully, Nancy, the kids who might get it through some other mechanisms, but if we want to guarantee that all of our students have access to a comprehensive health curriculum, then that means that it is not an elective, and it also means that even if it's just for 1 year or half year, it's not an elective. It's a required course, and it includes not just nutrition and physical fitness, but it includes information on dating relationships, on drug and alcohol resistance, on making healthy lifestyle choices, and everything that goes into it. So we do, that's one thing Dr. Mars talked about a lot, and now is, I'm sure, not the time, but that's what we have to keep in mind, is the idea that a comprehensive health curriculum is more than any one of these topics.
But perhaps we're moving closer.
Julia?
If you incorporated it into like the group guidance time, like you did half the year group guidance and half, or somehow put those two together, because they're both helping like go through the future.
That would be great. Half year group guidance, half year that. It's just for us a budgetary. We'd have to hire additional staff to do it. But that's a great idea, and I'm going to call it the Juliet model.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Thanks.
Paula,
We look
thank you,
forward
Dave. Thank
to
you.
hearing from you again, from both of you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all your time and efforts. All right. Move on to the approval of the FY12 school district calendar. Dr. Martis.
Okay, thank you. I was thinking about this as an agenda item. I figure what I would do is maybe begin with the end in this, and tell you that I'll give you a little background, and then we'll spend a little bit of time on the PowerPoint. But there's doesn't appear to be any compelling reason for us to change what has become a Foxborough tradition of not starting school before Labor Day. So one of the things that we did that I thought was helpful, that actually fit into some other plans that we had around communication and how do we figure out how people are thinking and feeling in the community, is I had mentioned before that we have a tool through a company called K-12 Insight that we hadn't had a chance to use. We were actually going to first use it. We're still going to use it with our strategic plan, but our strategic planning process has slowed down because of weather-related issues in January and into February. So we're actually meeting. Strategic Planning Group is getting back together next week. So we thought we'd launch a survey type with the strategic planning effort. And then when we started talking about the possibility of changing the calendar, the folks at K-12 Insight said, gee, why don't you try our tool and see what we can come up with. So as we were explaining it, which I thought was interesting, it became less and less clear that there was a really compelling reason. I mean, we're only saving one day in terms of calendar. We probably were disrupting some family plans, and so even if there was a compelling reason through the survey, we figured we would probably wait for another year anyway. So we didn't see that, but I thought what we'd do is spend just a few minutes looking at the survey and how we went about doing this. And again, I think it's important to note that this is the first time we've really used this organization, but we see some real power to this just based on the number of people who responded. And we think that this is going forward, gives us some real opportunity in the district to better gauge some of the thinking of not only our parents, but also our faculty. What do they think about this? So we can do with planning around school climate and some, maybe next year, some Debbie and I have talked a little bit about how was the beginning of the school year, what we were thinking, what were some of the things that we can do to do that. But the next one, just to give you a little preview, the next one we hope has to do with our strategic plan. So we're still hoping. So, Paul, if you want to, Wendy, if you just want to, it's a technological trick with the ruler there. Okay, so we'll just go over. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I just want to tell you how we work through this process. So the overview, looking at a possible change in the calendar, I think everyone knows that. We put this out for March 1 to March 9. I sent we put it on our district website. I sent a note out through Connect Ed, letting people know that was there and that we would be interested in any input. Explain the proposal and rationale, determine the degree of support, identify concerns about the proposal. So I think we were able to do that. Who participated? A total of 249 staff members responded to invitations to complete, yielding a 54% response rate. And you can see where much of that took place. The next group were a group of parents, total of 867 parents, estimated 50% response rate. I thought that was terrific. And I think as people get a feel for the tool, and we had some response that they didn't think the tool was, they didn't think the questions were really that great, and that's some work that we really have to do. So as we go through this was really a first for us, but it was, I thought, a great opportunity to test this. You can see again where the percentages of participation from parents. The next slide, the calendar proposal. We've always had a very traditional calendar. Teachers and staff, as I think people know, come in 2 or 3 days before Labor Day, and we've always started the school year the day after Labor Day. And we were talking about, and I know at one of our meetings when we first talked about the calendar and the possibility of change, we talked about some experience with other districts where they come in a couple of days before Labor Day, get a lot of routines out of the way, and all of that. So we kind of based that on looking at that as a possibility. And then the next slide, understanding the proposal. I wish my teaching was this good. I understand all the points as stated, both staff and parents, 97, 96%. I thought that was good. So we had, I think we had a good response around that rationale. And we did talk about getting a lot of all the routines, and that was, I think, an interest that some people had, beginning instruction for the school year with a full week of instruction. We think that there was a little more compelling reason to take a look at that. And then the next slide, support for the proposed change. More staff than parents were strongly supportive, and some of that in terms of timing, and I think that's something we learn as well. I mean, this was really a weather-related discussion where we were having so many snow days and the possibility of more, and we were listening to the media and other districts having to look at Saturdays and school vacation days and those kinds of things. So I think that was, my guess is the staff probably was looking more at that, and parents were less looking at whether that was a compelling reason or not. So I think that was interesting. And then the next slide around concerns, interfere. We thought this would come up, certainly did from families. Interferes with family plans around Labor Day, shortens the summer vacation, change from the tradition, kind of a little back and forth there. And then we had some additional concerns on the next slide. And that's really what, as we were looking for at this, not enough benefit to warrant a change. And I think from staff that was more, we're not really saving that many days in June. It's just because of we build in the professional development days in the middle of the school year, and a little bit of it's not broken, why fix it? So some of it was that as well. And then concerns from parents, which I think we were We were anticipating, again, not enough benefit, short week before Labor Day might not be a very good transition, might be actually be disruptive. I know, just in reading some of this, and that people were concerned that this actually might not be a real good transition for their own children to come a couple of days and then have an extra day off and then come back. So that's something that we learned. Out of school, students would get out of school too early for summer camps and activities. Some like the idea of easing into the school year. Possibility of homework, we really didn't even talk about that over the Labor Day weekend. And then, as I just said earlier, not enough notice, child and daycare concerns, other older students going to college. That's kind of an interesting one that hadn't come up in other districts where I was looking at some of this.
But most of those actually go before. You have kids who start August in some cycle. Most kids are gone by September 1st, 2nd, or 3rd.
Right.
They're really gone before Labor Day weekend.
Right, but if we're in school before Labor
It's a
Day.
mix.
My experience is
Yeah,
it's a little
my
bit.
experience, they went Labor Day, yeah.
Yeah.
Second year,
So anyway, in summary,
first year.
high interest topic, which, and again, I want to say this publicly, I really appreciate the fact that we had so many parents and so many staff members that took the time to take a look at this. They understood what we were asking, and staff were more supportive certainly than parents, and again, I don't see really any compelling reason to make the change, and certainly wouldn't want my legacy to be made a change here in Foxborough that I remember as a kid never going before Labor Day. I guess I probably should have concerned myself with that.
But Marta's calendar has a nice ring to it.
I think it would be the Midas blank something calendar.
It's a public meeting.
Exactly.
No, but another concern is that this year was about as late as we could start with Labor Day. Next year it's
And then it gets
another. I mean,
Yeah.
we're swinging back. I mean, this is an aberration, really, not.
I love the fact that we went through this process.
I do too.
And you used this questionnaire, and it was a vehicle for parents and staff, to take the time and not just to answer, but to write down their concerns. And, so I...
And the more familiar they become with it, I think they'll be willing to participate.
Really, I was really pleased that we decided to use this tool because, as I said, we were trying to figure out, a good entry point to use the tool. This was a pretty simple, conversation, and I think that, I hope that because we like the power of the tool, and I think we can, and we did. This was somewhat time sensitive, so I think some of the questions, even though people did say they understood them, as I reviewed them afterwards, I think some of the questions we could have done a little bit more work with too. But and also working with the company to do that, I think has been. But I do see a lot of power with this opportunity, and it hopefully gives parents and staff a feeling that we don't, because traditionally we raise this with the Teachers Association, we bring it to a meeting, and this is how. Been doing this for in other districts for a long time, and then you just look at it and say, okay, do we want to? We always have a conversation about other vacation times, and other districts have looked at a March break and some of the other things. So I think this was good. It was well received.
Chris, did we write the questions for the survey, or did the company?
The company did. Yeah, company. We gave them ideas. I mean, I actually had a conference call, and as I said, I think the more I saw this, I think it was more, we probably could have done a little bit more work on
Well, I'm sure you got the same feedback I did, but I think some of the public was surprised because when we brought up the option, it was presented, I think, in this forum at this meeting as an option.
Right.
And then the survey came out somewhat biased.
I think you're right.
And how it
I
worded
agree with
things.
that.
So I think that's what resulted in a fairly strong reaction.
Yeah.
And then I think...
Although I only heard from a couple of people. I mean, 800 people took the survey.
Yeah.
I heard from a couple of people.
I think, if we think, as I started getting phone calls, I started saying, well, maybe there is some real instructional benefit to this. And if there is, then we ought to present it in the future if we were to do it again.
Right.
As, look, here's what we think the instructional benefit is, versus we know what the tradition is. And I started having to try to talk, about how much instructional benefit is there. And I said, well, I'm really not the ideal person to comment on that. But so I think, to your point, I think how you word the questions is probably important. But like Katie said, I'm glad we used the tool. It's a great way to solicit more input. I think that was the intent.
Right.
Definitely.
I wrote down,
I need a motion on the calendar.
Oh, okay, we approve the calendar, hold on, the calendar. Make sure we're approving the correct one.
Let's start after Labor Day.
Start
That's
after
right, to
Labor
start
Day. Our
after
traditional
Labor Day.
calendar that we've had
Yes,
for,
okay.
start after Labor Day calendar.
Okay, so we have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor of the calendar?
I can't make up my mind. Okay, I'll go along.
Oh, yeah, because you don't have anybody in it.
No, I thought it was great we tried innovation.
Yeah,
I would have liked to experiment, so.
Okay, so all
And I'll
those in
vote for it.
favor of the calendar starting after Labor Day? All those in favor? 5-0, thank you. Approved. Okay, so we're going to move on. FY12 budget update, Dr. Martis, Mr. Jackson.
Okay, we, just to let the committee know in terms of a timeline, a revised timeline, I guess. We're still working with the town, and I know the committee knows this because we have a meeting scheduled with the Board of Selectmen for a week from tomorrow night. So we're still working with the town about what the available revenue is. You know, I think you remember from the last meeting we had with the town that we were talking about a $750,000 gap, and what that would mean for our budget. And I think that I know I read in the Foxborough Reporter that the more recent update was a larger gap, and the other pieces we haven't really heard what the House budget, what the House of Representatives budget is going to look like. So that at the same time, I want the public to know, and I want you folks to know that at the same time, we're a little bit more encouraged by some of what we've heard more recently. We have been hearing, and we need to confirm this, that the special education circuit breaker may be more fully funded than we anticipated, and that what we originally budgeted. So what we're doing now is working to figure out with our special ed department and with Paul Jackson's team, what would that mean in terms of what available revenue might be there to, depending on what our gap looks like. And the other part of it is that we've actually had 3 more people tell us that they were going to retire, and we've also had a couple of other personnel shifts in terms of resignations and leaves of absence and other things, and that typically happens. I think this committee should remember the last couple of years where we've seen that, where we finish our budget so that we can get it to the town by the end of January, and then in February and March and certainly into April, we would be hearing from our staff. So there may be, we're calculating that now, so there may be some shifts in that as well, so that our budget, I think, is getting closer to being, I hope, closer to what the town's number will be. So we have a couple of areas there. So I guess the good news is that our budget is trending in a direction where we're not seeing more deficits and more issues, but we are seeing some things that may allow us to close that gap even more. We just don't have all those numbers finished yet, and in fact received a retirement letter today. So I mean that's how current it is. And so we're still working on that. I just wanted you to know. I want the public to know. In anticipation of our meeting on the 29th with the town at the town hall in the Selectmen's meeting room, we're going to continue to do that work. So what I would suggest is, with the chair's permission and discussion with the committee, that we not have the school committee meeting next week, because we won't have any more budget information until we have the meeting with the town the day after. And we have a regularly scheduled meeting on April 3rd, April 4th, and that's where I think we're really going to have to finish the budget. So does that timeline make sense?
So you want a motion on that?
I do.
Yeah, so I would move that we strike next week's school committee meeting based on Dr. Martin's rationale.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor of having the school committee meeting. So we got 5-0.
Canceling.
Canceling, thank you.
I think that'll just make good sense,
Yeah.
and will allow us to move our budget forward. Give us an extra week, give us some time to work with the town as well on available
Right.
revenues. So that's where we are. We had, I think, a very good meeting, just so that the public knows, and I know that Katie and Bruce were there with Paul and with me. I think we had a very good, informative meeting with the advisory committee, who asked us very good questions, and we get into some good discussion. And I think that, I think they have a better understanding of what we're trying to do going forward. So.
Okay, great. All right, let's move on to the FY12 CIP.
Yeah, Paul, do you have one?
Any second.
I'll fill in a little time on this just by giving people.
For the ruler?
On Saturday, March 12th, we had our annual meeting about the capital budget. And what we want to do tonight is talk about what the capital budget committee, I sit on that committee as the superintendent, along with a member of the Board of Selectmen, or a member of the advisory committee, and Leo Potter from the Water and Sewer Department, and Kevin Pecos, the town manager. And so we're all voting members of the capital committee. So we listen to all the department's requests for any needs. So what I thought we would do tonight is talk a little bit about the results of that, that meeting on the 12th, and there are some changes from our original request that I'll need the committee to approve. Okay, so Paul. Okay, so the first slide is about what we originally asked for in our request, and Paul, I thought Paul and Mike O'Leary, and actually Paul Bortolotti, our Director of Technology, was there as well. I thought they did a terrific job presenting to the committee. So we were looking at computer hardware, hardware, software upgrades for $195,000, 2 full-size school buses, $164,000, 1 mini school bus at $56,000, 3 copiers at $45,000. And as I mentioned before, and I'll say again, that those first 4 items are ones that we ask for each year because that's replacement of important elements of our school system. The Borough School paving and curbing, $250,000. Borough School statement of interest, that's to get the attention of the Massachusetts School Building Authority for the repair of the Borough School. That's the first thing you have to do is a statement of interest. And then the high school paving and curbing to finish off the high school, this high school project, this $20 million repair of Foxborough High School. So that was the total request that we went forward with. And here's what we ended up, and I'm very pleased. I need to say I'm very pleased that our major request, and we'll talk a little bit about the other requests that weren't funded. Computers, hardware, software upgrade. We reduced that by $50,000 in order to fit it within what was available, what the total appropriation that was available. And I think we can do that. And going forward, I think before we finish the school year, we'll have Paul Bortolotti and Paul Jackson will talk a little bit more about what we intend to buy and where we'll go with that. That'll be a very timely, I think, June discussion. The 2 full-size school buses and the 1 mini school bus were approved fully by the committee. 3 copiers approved fully by the committee. The Borough School paving and curbing project was one that we were really trying to fit in at the end, and so there was only available funding for that up to $220,000, not the $250,000. But what I want to remind the committee is last year you added to the Taylor School project. So Paul and Mike O'Leary are working with the vendor. He's giving us an itemized list of everything that would have to do with the paving and curbing project, where we would curb, where we would look at granite curbing, and where we might look at some other curbing in that project. So I feel confident that we'll come in with a very good plan for the borough school. I feel very confident we'll come in with a good plan for the borough school. So when we discussed this, there's $580,000, so the total is $630,000. There's $580,000 in free cash, and what we've done, not every year, but some years, is we've then contributed some of our revolving fund money to make all of this work. And so I propose tonight that we look at, and we were looking at building rental, the building rental account, and I know that we included the revolving account. We have a good, healthy amount, I think, in building rental. So I think we can, I think we can do that and still have about $75,000 left in that account.
So we'll be voting on that.
We'll be voting on that, voting to approve the whole package so that we can let the town know, because I know that the selectmen are dealing with this topic tomorrow night.
Okay.
And the nice thing about that account is it does replenish annually.
It does.
Through future rentals.
Through future rentals.
So it's not as though we're putting ourselves in a tough spot.
What's good is you're giving back to buildings, per se.
Correct.
If the wear and tear is coming out of buildings, then it should come out of that.
Well, any more thoughts on that?
No, we updated the revolving account since the last time I believe it was distributed by indicating in the building rental that we would take the estimated $19,000 out for the NEASC approval as opposed to town money, and then the CIP of $50,000.
Yeah, we did actually discuss that at the advisory committee, because one of the advisory, I had forgotten, and one of the advisory committee members reminded us that we had taken that out since it's really not an operating expense.
Yeah.
It's a 1 year and a 10-year project, so it really shouldn't be building into the base of our operating budget.
So I make a motion that we approve the use of $50,000 from the revolving account building rental to help with the CIP plan.
I'll second. No, revolve 50 here.
Okay. Where's the,
Do you need a full motion to accept as
I would take that first, and then I would accept the whole proposal.
So I'll second that.
Because we're cutting, they cut it down.
Any
We're
further
making-
discussion?
Let's just help Martha.
okay,
You got it,
I
Martha?
see the taking free cash,
Yeah.
580, and we're making up 50. Okay.
Yeah.
I was looking at the school, the paving.
Oh, yes.
$30,000.
Right, there's a $30,000 difference in the paving,
Yeah.
but that'll be another discussion later on in the
Okay.
year after we get the final bid in and we look at all the components of that bid.
Okay.
Second that? Or if it's on the
It's second.
I just want to bring up an issue. I am totally in support of this, and I think, we need to do that. But I do want to bring attention to the committee to look, and thank you, Paul, for doing this, for giving us these different revolving accounts. Just in the first 6, revolving accounts, half of them, we're seeing, a reduction in our projected balance each year. And so again, this is definitely money worth spending. I think we should absolutely do it. But I just want to bring to it, the committee's attention that these balances are being reduced each year. And, I think it's a sign of the time, and this is the way it is. And we want to use it, obviously, for important expenditures, but we're not seeing the growth in these accounts like we have in years past. So
I think at one point, too, Katie, way back when, we had way too much money.
and I agree, yes.
And at the
yes.
expense of other things. So, I think this is a much more open, honest way to deal with these.
Absolutely.
And by showing them over and over and over again, we're reinforcing that we're being mindful of the town side and what we need on the school side.
Yes.
And, sometimes you gotta dig.
Yeah, and I probably should have prefaced my comments by saying that in the original capital, there was a larger request for revolving, and I said to the committee, I don't think we can do that. I just don't want to deplete,
Right.
in a larger way, because we want to be very, to your point, Katie, we want to be very careful of this. I think your point's well taken.
Because we've had to use it, we've had to dip in.
Yes.
It's rescued us now for the last 3 years.
It
We couldn't have done the playground for Borough, or those other things that we've had to fund have come out of here. So
That's
I
right.
think we've used it wisely.
Absolutely.
I would just like to make note to the group that on the borough statement of interest. I mean, that's, I don't want to spend any more money out of these accounts because we do need to be mindful, but that is an expense that will well serve us. And I'm not sure where we are in the cycle of the MSBA, but we should have it, when would we have been putting that in had that been approved? Because I think that's something we have to find the money.
Next year would be, we needed to consider it next year. We don't know, to your question, Kate, we don't know where we line up because we actually don't even know what their appropriation is going to be, which obviously ties into how many projects have already been approved. But we do need to, as I call it, get in line.
Right.
Which we're very mindful of.
So is that something we would have started to pull together, the data, and any supporting this summer?
It's not to pull together this, no, not really this summer. I think you'd do it during the year next year and then see because the other part of it that you have to be careful about, I think, is I think it also needs to line up with the other projects going on in the community. We would be hard pressed to get full funding, as we did with the high school, until some of these other projects are off the books, or close to off the books. So it'll probably be statement of interest, and then there's a feasibility study. So that's another year. So if you started the statement of interest next year, sometime during the year, communicated with MSBA that this is starting to now get into the pipeline. Then the next year then you're seeing obviously this project is completed. The library, I think, will be completed. Town hall project will be moving, I would think, and then the borough would line up right on that. So I think if you try to do it now, even if they said, I think one of the difficult things is if they said to us, "We're ready for you," I'm not sure the town financially is ready for us. So
I just don't want us to lose sight.
I think we have to, no question. I think we have to be mindful of that.
Right.
Am I right, Paul?
Yes.
Just one other point on the revolving accounts. We have to be very careful, and we have to really explain to people that when you add these all up, it's a lot of money, but there's only certain things you can do with certain accounts. So it's not like we have this bucket of money that we can just take anything we want out of it. It has to be aligned with what the revolving account is. And I think that was one of the biggest things we had to keep reiterating with the advisory committee was, well, your revolving account, you got a lot of money. Yeah, but you can only do certain things with it. So, we just have to keep reiterating that to people that it's not a bucket of money.
Yeah, I think that's very important. The other piece that I should mention too, just so the public knows, because we did have a major expenditure for the high school, the paving. I think the building committee will be in favor of including that in the building project for two reasons. One is I think it's an absolute necessity. As you drive up,
dangerous.
You can tell
it is becoming dangerous.
And we want to finish this project in a high quality way because it's been such a good project for the last 2+ years. And we'll finish this summer. The other piece is that we've heard from MSBA that they may be willing to listen to an appeal to have it funded, to have it included in the project. We were looking to have it outside of the project, but use the money that's available in the bonded appropriation. But they're interested in listening to an appeal, as we did with the asbestos, which they initially said, no, we're not going to give you the reimbursement on the asbestos. And
what is the cause for this? I mean, I'm glad, but what caused this?
Well, I think one of the things is, part of it, Paul, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was our project manager, Otis project manager, that had heard from MSBA that they were looking at some other projects. Is that how we first heard that this might be the paving for the high school?
Any of the money that we spend above and beyond the initial project that wasn't included in the initial project will be up for grabs in terms of we can go in an appeal and request and see if they'll allow us to get reimbursed for some of that. And similar to what had happened originally with the asbestos, which they originally said no, and now it looks like we're going to get a healthy chunk of additional reimbursement that they've agreed to reimburse us.
Right. So, I mean, what part of the piece of this I think people need to remember is that we're one of the first schools in this repair project category from the kind of the new, as we call it, the new MSBA in the treasurer's office. So we need, so they're learning as we're learning as we go along. A little more paperwork than is necessary, is my opinion. But they're learning as they go along in terms of what the project should look like. I mean, they're not going to fund an athletic field or bleachers or something like that, but as part of a whole repair project in a school, you know, the paving and the parking lots, and, you know, that's important, and it's the safety and all that. So I know that after Paul and Mike presented at the Capitol meeting on the 12th, they came over here and took
51 pictures.
51 pictures, and about 50.
the parking lot?
Yeah, because we need to make a case.
Right.
And so Bill Euchner and I are going to collaborate on a letter, and I think, you know, I hope, I mean, they do like to listen to our perspective as a school district, and I think they've liked the work that we've done, and we know that, you know, the project will be on time, and it looks like it's going to be under budget. We don't know all of the numbers yet, but we'll certainly pull all that together, so I think they like that.
And it makes sense. Remember, we completed this paperwork in July of '07.
Right.
As the financial crisis has hit nationally as well as statewide, there has been less and less money. So we've moved what we can with our revolving accounts. We've taken care of our town, working collaboratively. There's less money. And there has been the deterioration that's out there. It is worse than even the Taylor School. And we had to come up with a creative way to take care of it. We can't leave chunks of metal falling. Cars can go over the embankment on private property. And I'm not just talking the kids. I'm talking adults. You can't walk in the middle. There's concrete, chunks of it. There are electrical wires from lights that have... It is time to fix that. So perhaps they will be, work and play, because the project has been so well managed. So they look good, we look good, and it's doing the repair completely and thoroughly. So it's a win for them.
Right.
It could be a win for us.
And in terms of just doing the math financially, in terms of the appropriation, we're not going to spend what we told them we were going to spend. So there should be money from their appropriation side that would be in the mix. They wouldn't be adding an appropriation on this, because we're actually going to spend less to do the whole project. So whatever they believe their budget was for their appropriation for Foxborough High School, I don't think they'll exceed it, even with this. So, that's going to be part of our discussion as well.
I think another strategy might be to rationalize that with all the trucks and equipment and all, that's put wear and tear onto the existing infrastructure. So it's not like you're asking for shrubbery or dogwood trees,
No, and we've made repairs.
But
We've made repairs, and we had to put the first coat down. We had to scale down that project. Because we didn't have enough money. That was '05. Then we had to wait 2 years. We put the second coat on because the first coat was starting to deteriorate. And I think it's time. We really do need to pay attention, and that's glad that they're going to partner and cooperate with us.
So I think the second one I need would be a vote.
We haven't voted yet on this first one. We started the discussion yesterday, so, yeah. Okay, so
we're ready for a vote.
we're ready for a vote on to use the revolving account, the amount of 50,000. All those in favor? 5-0, thank you.
And then I'd make a subsequent motion that we approve the CIP plan as presented by Dr. Martis.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? 5-0, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Going to move on to other matters. I have two. As you know, we're involved now with the teachers' contract, and we need 2 representatives from the committee to participate. So I would like to have Martha and Bruce participate on that committee. All those so I need a motion to...
I'd be happy to make that motion.
Thank you.
And Beth,
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? 5-0, thank you. And the other thing, I just want to remind everyone about the Day on the Hill next Tuesday, the 29th. We'll be going into Boston, and we'll be advocating for the district, a meeting with our legislators. And that's all I have. Martha?
I just want to, I think it's gotten out there, but I'm one of the official cheerleaders for the Faces organization, and their event this year is April 8th. It will be at Lakeview. They've got quite the night planned for everybody. tickets are available, and they need to be bought ahead of time, unfortunately, so you can pick your dinner choice. But it should be a great night, and it's a way of them being able to give back to the school district. So hopefully, we'll see you there.
Where's it going to be?
Lakeview, 7 to 12.
7 to 12. Okay, great.
There's a lot planned.
So if people want tickets, they should contact you? Who else
They can contact me, Kathleen Murphy, Diana Griffith,
Cindy,
Wendy,
Superintendent.
Yeah, each
Superintendent's
building,
office.
each building, and
building.
Cindy's jewelry store, I believe.
It should be a great night.
Great. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it.
This will be a lot of fun. Anyone else on your other matters?
Yeah, I just want to thank the high school. When they put the draft in front of us, it was, each year they get better and better. This just wowed me, the finished version, the graphics. A great job. Kudos to the high school. You know, a parent has a lot of questions and concerns about what their children will get, what's best, and this just keeps getting better and better. So, that great job.
The program is
The program of studies, yes. You know, we discussed it and it looked good to us, but I mean, how they have packaged it. And I think that's a great selling point to parents. The other thing is I'd like to give a formal thank you to Martha. And Martha, I want to acknowledge what you did with sending that letter to Mask and to Glenn Kuchar. I think, you know, that's another partnership that we have really reaped the benefits. So you not only did a great job, you and Angela Davis, on the search, along with you as well, Bruce, but you came full circle and you reinforced that connection with Glenn Kuchar. So thank you for taking the time to do that. And if I may, just take another minute, Bev and I just want to update you on the policy subcommittee. You see our minutes. We're through the whole book, and it is darn good. Because we delegated, we read every single policy, and we realized how incompetent we were, that we'd have to go to the experts. So we delegated, we read every policy, and we farmed out to the administrative team the new policies to get their input before we came down and, you know, we asked Debbie Spinelli to take a look at the ones on instruction and curriculum because it looked like there might be some nuances there. We found some, we're going to look darn good. It doesn't end here. Paul Jackson looked at the financial. We actually put the building facilities planning on hold because we couldn't agree and there was complications with our town bylaw. Well, we have nailed a draft for your review that is to die for. Okay, so, you know, we think we've gotten some traction. So here's the deal. Martha, we also delegated to all of you, and we've now passed that deadline. Martha gave us feedback on some changes she'd like to see. We'd like to challenge all of you, if there are any if there anything that you'd like to see changed, Bruce and Katie, if you could, you know, let us know, because we will be presenting you with our first reading and walking you through the changes at our April 4th meeting. So that will be our first reading. And then April 25th, we'll be voting the whole book. And anything you'd like to add with that?
With the addition of new policies, what we did, we went back and this took a lot of time, we cross-referenced. And, you know, not just to that one, but then this needed to be updated to cross-reference back, so it should read very easily for you now.
You know what's amazing is you got such good instruction the first time that this really must have been a breeze for you this time. Huh?
Oh no, we put Jim Hardy to work.
No, I listened to you, and if you remember, this is what we did the first time. We gave things to different departments and to different people, and it was like, this sounds familiar.
We were so overwhelmed, so we called Jim Hardy. Jim, you know,
well, he's our go-to person.
Well, I know, and like Sharon Kelly helped with our, you know, she caught things that are updating in the nursing that we
And I'm very proud that we're going to vote.
Thank you. We found, yes, kudos to Sharon.
I know.
She found some good things.
That's right. That's good.
Yeah. Good job,
Okay,
ladies.
thank you, ladies, yes.
Yes, we look darn good because of the staff we have.
It's not,
That, yes.
you notice I didn't volunteer for that one. I volunteered the first time.
You volunteered me for several things.
I know.
Anyone else have any other?
I do just want, because of a change in the Disabilities Act, it is law that we now have to have a policy about a service animal, which you will be voting on. There is another small section about animals in general that we don't have to have if we don't want to, but would it at this time, one of the things I want you to consider, make sense to add that other little section 2 so that we won't have to bring it back. So we can vote that yay or nay this time, but that's one of the little things I'd like you to
Great. You'll bring our
look
attention
for.
to that at the April 4th meeting. Great, thank you.
And actually, we've drafted a letter, and the other person who makes us look so wonderful is Wendy. So, because we're not going to give it to you verbally, because it's just too hard to realize. So we
Give it to her.
have drafted, so you'll be able to see in your packet and study where we've added, where there's new policy, where there's the cross-reference, what our recommendation is, what's the recommendation of the administrative team, or who else we'll use Sharon Kelly's name, Paul Jackson, we'll be throwing Debbie Spinelli's name around. So you'll be able to see where we went and who we ran this by, as well as the drafts. So.
Great.
Let me know you didn't make it up all by yourself.
Oh, we were making things up. But we got grounded with the experts.
Okay.
Bruce, do you have anything?
No.
Okay, Chris?
I'm all set.
Okay. All right, so we're going to be going into executive session to discuss strategies with respect to collective bargaining and contract negotiations with non-union personnel, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the school committee. We will not be coming into open session, so I need a motion.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay.
Roll call.
Roll call. to
Aye.
Enter into executive
Aye.
session. Aye?
Aye.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah.